What's up, everybody? Dave here from Wet Pets and Pals, and today we're going to show you how to reseal an aquarium. We have a 75-gallon tank that a customer brought in that is leaking, and we are going to jump in. I'm going to show you how we do it here. Might not be exactly the way that everyone else does it, but I've been doing this now for about 15 years resealing tanks, and I have yet to have any issues with it. So if you guys want to see how to reseal an aquarium with stuff you have laying around the house or you can find at your local hardware store, stay tuned. We're about to show you how it's done. All right, you guys, as you can see, we have a 75-gallon fish tank here on the ground. I have it set up, ready to be resealed. This tank does currently hold water. However, you can see that the silicone edges are just trash. I don't know the history of this tank. Looks like maybe dried out, might not have had water in it for a while. I do know that the customer tried to fill this, or he did fill it with water, and he was just like, nah, this isn't gonna cut it. I don't feel comfortable. So and you can see down here the air getting down in between them, things like that. So it's definitely time for this tank to be resealed, freshened up, and good to go. Some of the tools we're going to be using today, like I said, you guys, these are household items, things you can find at your local hardware store that we're going to be using. Important thing to be using is a straight razor. Inside this straight razor, using the straight razor will help you get inside the seals and up into the corners of the glass and get a nice, good clean. That's the most important thing, is removing all of the silicone and cleaning everything very, very, very well. So when you go back through to reapply your silicone, it's got the best chance of bonding perfectly. One of the things you don't see up here is some of the cleaners that I use. I don't use any harsh chemicals, you guys, I'll be honest. If it's a really bad tank, I'll take some rubbing alcohol and rub it through the corners. One of the things that I like to use is Windex. I love the Windex on the inside, especially the Windex with the ammonia. It really gets a nice clean in there. And I know you guys don't see it right here. I'll pull it out as you guys see me going through the video. You'll see me use it, but that stuff works great. Another thing is I use painter's tape. If you want a nice, clean factory edge, that's where the painter's tape's gonna come in. So the long part of this process is scraping, cleaning extremely well, and taping it up. Once you get to that point, applying the silicone and removing the tape is the easiest part, and it's almost impossible to mess up if you do the current steps correctly. Silicone that we use 100% pure silicone. And you guys, this is the GE brand, and it does have to be the #1 silicone. The #2 will not work. It has mold additives in it and things like that, which over time could leach into your water system and really cause some harmful effects to your water babies. And then, as you can see here, it's just a basic caulk gun. So that way we can apply the silicone into the tank pretty easily and get our hands down in there. So what I'm going to do, you guys, is I'm going to set up some time lapses here, pausing every now and then to kind of explain what we're doing and how we're doing it. So before I do that, I do want to show you guys exactly how this flat blade works. If you've got this flat blade down in here and you get it down underneath the silicone, you can see how easy it pulls that silicone up. I mean, super easy. One on the top, one on the bottom, and granted, this tank was due for for reseal, but look at that. This is why we're resealing this tank. First time I touched it, and that stuff is just pulling out of there with ease. So 100%, this is why we reseal our tanks. Same thing down the sides here. I'll try to get a good angle. You know, we just run that blade right down one side, right down the next, and it pulls it out. Actually pulled it out really, really well. There's not a whole lot left there. So cleaning this tank is going to be pretty easy. This is all going to go pretty quickly for us. So you can see how well that straight razor does such an amazing job. So I'm going to go ahead and set this on time lapse, guys, and you'll be able to keep an eye on what we're doing, how we're doing it. And then, like I said, I'll stop every now and then and let you know what's going on. Stay tuned to the time lapse. All right, as you can see, we have all the silicone on all corners removed on the inside of this tank. This is the important part coming up, you guys. We have to make sure that we get off all of the excess little bits of silicone that you see down there. That's where having a really nice, clean, sharp, flat blade comes in handy. What I don't recommend is taking the razor and going this way into the glass. Only because the glass is put together like this, and if you start jabbing the wrong way, like this way right here, you're going to start jabbing that razor blade into the silicone that's actually holding the two pieces of glass together. So you got a piece going this way and a piece going this way with silicone in between those. So it's very important that you use that flat blade. And like I said, this is the most time consuming part. And just making sure you scrape everything off all the way down through. It's really hard doing this with one hand. But you can see all that excess falling off. Down into the bottom. And then, oops, sorry guys, hit the wrong button there. Then you can see that we make sure we get it all off, you know. To where it all looks nice and clean all the way down through. Some of the marks that you're seeing are not silicone, it's actual just stains on the glass. But so we're going to go ahead and go through the entire tank, scrape it all off like that, and once we're done, we'll touch base with the next step. I'm also going to switch out my blade here in a few for a fresh one. Stay tuned. Okay, next step, you guys, is once we get, you guys can see all the excess silicone just laying in the bottom of this tank. This is all the stuff that we had to clean off out of those corners. All of that will prevent a good bond of your new silicone when you put it in. But on to the next step. One of the things I didn't tell you guys, you're going to need a shop vac. Shop vac is going to work wonders for you, and I'm going to use the shop vac to suck up anything that's left in here. Some of it is going to stick to the glass. Just use your razor blade, scoop it up, vacuum it, or suck it up with the shop vac as you're going, and get everything out of there. And then once we're done with that, we're going to get out our cleaners, and we're going to clean all the edges very, very, very well before we go and tape it up. So, oh, and another thing I like to do with customers' tanks too is, as much as I can, they get these hard water stains and stuff like that on here. We're going to go ahead and scrape that stuff before we get going too on the inside, just to make sure that when they get their tank back, it looks amazing and as close to new as possible. So I'm going to get the time lapse going again, and I'm going to show you guys how to finish cleaning and scraping all this and sucking it out with the shop vac. Okay, everything is scraped out, cleaned out, no silicone left in the tank anywhere. We got as much of it out as we can, and that means all of it, even though it looks like there's still some in here. That's stuff on the outside of the glass. So our next step now is to get our cleaners, and we are going to clean this tank on the inside extremely well. Once cleaned, we're going to vacuum it out one more time to make sure that we have pulled all the silicone. Looks like I did forget a little bit down here, so we'll get the shot back out. Get that, I missed that. And then we're going to clean this thing out really well with cleaner. Shot back it out from all the edges and corners, make sure there's no standing water left in there or cleaners left in there. Then we're going to let it dry. Once it's dry, we're going to get to the fun part, and that's taping it up. Stay tuned. All right, you guys, we now have a 100% clean tank on all corners, all the way through, all the way around. Everything looks really good, really clean. Another thing, once we get all the silicone removed from the tanks, I want to and always go through and check the edges through here. Sometimes a tank's just not worth saving, and we want to make sure that that bond in between all these corners looks really good. And I already checked this tank over once, so I know that it's really good. Ooh, didn't notice that. So this is a chip. There's a chip out of this tank, but nothing that's going to hurt the tank at all in any way whatsoever. So this tank looks really good. It's clean, washed, wiped out, vacuumed out, scraped off, and it is ready for tape. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing taped up, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, like I said, taping it up and cleaning it is the longest process. A few things that I did in here, and I'm going to show you guys why, or tell you guys why I did it. One of the things was I left the tape long on the edges. This is going to make it easy for me to pull the tape off without scraping at it. And the way that I taped it on the sides and edges, that should be able to make me, not all the time, but should be able to make it easy for me to pull the tape. When I pull that off, it should lift that piece up so I could pull that piece off, and same thing over here, so I'm not getting my hands full of silicone. As you can see down here, I have everything taped to about 1/4 inch from the edge all the way around on every piece. And that's the way it looks everywhere. I don't think there is a set amount that you have to tape from the corners or edges. It's going to give you more strength, less strength, yada yada yada. What I like to do is just go a fuzz wider, and I mean a fuzz, like a peach fuzz wider than what the factory line was. That way I know that if for some reason the tank was really bad, or it just was impossible to make it look better, just going a little bit farther than what the original factory tape line was, it kind of covers it up and it'll give you a nice seamless factory looking edge without seeing the old line if it was happened to be stained into the tank or whatever. Next step that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 100% pure silicone, and I'm going to do this all in one, because once you put that silicone on, what I like to do is immediately, once I silicone the entire tank and get it all smoothed out, is to remove the tape as quickly as I can. It gives me a little bit of time to play with the silicone, tap down anything that might come up, which generally doesn't happen very often, and it allows that silicone to melt back to itself and leave a nice seamless line. You don't need a ton of silicone, but this is one of the reasons I use 2-inch wide painter's tape. If you happen to want to lay it in pretty thick, that painter tape is going to give you some forgiveness when you go through with your finger or your silicone tool or anything else. Once you smooth it out, all that excess is going to go up onto that tape. So when you remove that tape, you won't have any of that excess in there. But I'll show you guys how I put my line in there. I'll show you guys how I get my silicone ready and everything else. So stay tuned. All right, getting your silicone ready. What I like to do, be real careful, you guys. This is a razor blade and it will cut you, as I almost cut myself trying to do this on camera. Is I like to cut a nice little angle in my, if I can get it to focus in here, it's gonna mess up, into my tube, just like that. So you can see there's a nice angle on that. Not a lot, but enough to where when I get down into that edge, I can literally have enough angle to put that silicone. Another tip that I like to do, you guys, is right up at that tip, is I like to just put a little slit and a little slit. And you guys, you can use this at home for your, if you're caulking baseboards, trimming up anything at home. And I'm not talking a huge slit. I'm talking a tiny little, if I can get it to focus in here. All right. I don't know if it's just not wanting to focus in because, there you go. You can see that little slit in there now. But that just allows for a little relief with the silicone going through rather than just squishing out the sides. Most quality silicone guns will come with a little poker that's designed to open up the silicone on the inside of the tube, stick your silicone back inside your tube, and get it ready to go, just like so. So now I'm ready to apply some silicone, and I'm going to do one pass in a small area and kind of show you, and then video that, and then I'm just going to go full on and put you back on time lapse. So a nice, easy bead of silicone, just like so. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. because we are going to go through when we're finished and use our fingers and a little bit of dampness, and we'll be able to smooth all that out. It'll look really good, so stay tuned, you guys. I'm going to show you what the finished product looks like. Alright guys, and just like that we have a 100% sealed aquarium. You can see all the edges in here look really good. Nice clean factory edges all the way through. This this tank looks like it had turtles or something in it because all the corners are pretty scratched and there was a pretty hard water line halfway through it, so I'm assuming that it was either used for rodents, reptiles, or turtles of some sort, but it was definitely a scratched up tank. But nonetheless, in 48 hours this thing will be good to go. And ready for its forever home. I'm hot, I'm sweaty. Thanks for watching, guys. You know the routine. As always, like and subscribe down below if you have any tips that you think would have made my job a little bit easier today. I'm all up to hear those. Let me get my finger out of the way. I'm all up to hear those. Other than don't do it when it's 100 degrees outside. I would say 48 hours is a perfect time to let this thing cure. The longer the better, but 48 hours I'll be able to water test this thing Friday evening into Saturday morning. That'll be about 48 hours. And then Saturday, as long as it holds water, which I don't see why it won't, it'll be ready for the customer to take home. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay fishy. We will see you next week. Again, the tools used to seal the tank, 100% GE #1 silicone, a flat razor that holds these razors, your cleaner, paper towels, 1.5 to 2 inch painter's tape. I use 2 inch painter's tape. I love it. And a caulk gun. And most importantly, something to keep you motivated. So, but this is what you're going to need. All the tools you'll need to tape the tank, along with a shop vac, and then, or to tape the tank, to reseal the tank. But once that tank's resealed, you guys, it's going to look amazing. Oh, bang! If you're out there looking for that sponsorship, stay fishy, guys.